Greetings. I am Mechanic Doll P630, and welcome to my series, Identity V Sucks, where we discuss the many flaws in this beautifully broken 1v4 asymmetrical survival costume game. Today I will be discussing hitboxes. One of the many complaints in Identity V's community are the broken hitboxes. Now what is a hitbox? A hitbox is an invisible area on a character or an object that you are able to interact with. In the case for Identity V, the hitboxes on survivors are supposed to receive damage, while hitboxes on the hunters are supposed to receive stuns. Actually, in this instance, the correct term for this type of hitbox would be a hurtbox, but for the sake of simplicity, I will use the term hitbox. To explain how it works in Identity V, I conducted a few tests in a custom match setting with Hellember and Doctor. The first thing that I tested was Hellember's normal attack hitbox, starting off with the radius. As you can see here, I placed a graffiti to mark Doctor, because it is the closest size to a survivor's hitbox. I created some distance between Hellember and Doctor and proceeded to move Hellember closer to Doctor after every miss until she was hit. Once I found the correct range, I placed down a graffiti under Hellember to signify the general distance of his attack range. To find the correct angle of the hit, I positioned Hellember's normal attack over 90 degrees away from Doctor and proceeded to get closer until a hit registered. After performing this on both sides, I took both clips and drew up this diagram. As you can see here in this diagram, Doctor represents the blue circle, while Hellember represents the red circle. The transparent colored circles are to represent Hellember's normal attack radius measured in graffiti. Of course, this diagram is subject to change. However, this is the most accurate diagram I can create at the moment. Does this help us in understanding the hitbox? Yes, and no. To fully understand why the hitbox is the way that it is, we have to first understand the concept of collision detection. Collision detection is the computational problem of detecting the intersection of two or more objects. Basically, the program's way of detecting whether or not two or more objects are touching each other. Imagine Hellember's attack hitbox as a piece of pie while Doctor's being a cylinder. If the hunter performs an attack animation, and the game detects that Doctor is within the attack range, then she will take damage. If Doctor isn't within the attack range, she does not take damage, and the attack will follow through with no attack recovery animation. But what happens if there's an obstacle between Doctor and Hellember? If there is a physical object between Doctor and Hellember, even though she is within the attack range, the hit will not register. Then how come survivors take damage while pulling down pallets even though there is a physical object between the hunter and survivor? The answer to that all comes down to the coding of the game. It doesn't take a bachelor's degree in programming to really understand how coding works. As long as you can think like a computer, like me, you can understand the possible actions being performed in these few clips. In this animated diagram, I will show you why the game registers it as a hit. Like the previous diagram, Hellember will represent the red circle, while Doctor represents the blue circle. The salmon-colored pie shape around the Hellember will represent the attack hitbox. The walls will be represented in gray, and the palette will be represented in green. What you need to understand is that when the palette is raised, the game registers that section as an open space, meaning that there is no obstacle between Doctor and Hellember, and the attack should register. However, when the palette is fully down, the game registers that section as a physical obstacle between Doctor and Hellember. When Hellember throws an attack, he will immediately receive the wall hit animation. If Doctor pulls down the palette right as Hellember swings, the attack will register, because the game has not set that section as an obstacle. Since Doctor would still be in their attack range, the hit would register. That is why the attack still registers mid-animation, and why a lot of hunters take full advantage of this feature. One interesting thing to note is that the hitboxes of survivors and hunters do act as physical obstacles, which is why survivors are able to physically body block hunters. The reason why this method does not always work is because the hitboxes are shaped as cylinders rather than rectangular prisms, allowing hunters to slide in between open gaps. As shown here, you can see that instead of running in place after colliding, the character is sliding past the other. Another interesting thing to note is that survivors are able to take damage once they have fully vaulted a window. Here, I conducted a few more tests to find Hellember's attack range when reaching over a window. Although it looked like the hit should have registered, the developers were kind enough to balance the hitbox by decreasing the attack range by approximately 50%. If the developers do consider balancing in this game, then why do we still call these hitboxes broken? Almost all of those broken hitboxes stem from the animations and visuals. In the previous clip on the window vaulting, you can see that Doctor is not taking damage, even though Hellember's shark blunt weapon thingy is going right through her. In other instances, you will find that the hit will still register regardless of how far it is from you. Here, I tested out Wu Chang's white form normal attack range, and I found that the angle of the hitbox is pretty atrocious. You would expect the angle to be rather small seeing as that the animation is a frontward thrust of his umbrella, but here it shows that it also covers some pretty wide range. In this video posted by Carbons, on why Identity V sucks, he showcases how broken the hitboxes are. Although he mistakenly interpreted it as bad RNG, which is random number generator, primarily used for gachas and essences in this game, it is mainly the fault of the game design. Also, if RNG was the determiner of these hits, this game would no longer be a game of skill but rather a game of luck, and thank God it isn't designed like that. But this user's video does reveal a fact: there are issues with the visuals. Now how can we fix this problem? Well, I have a few suggestions ranked by least to most effective. Number 1. Completely revise the hitboxes. Probably one of the most time-consuming and high-heavy workload would be for the developers to completely revise the system and implement more accurate hitboxes. Sure, this sounds good on paper, but doing so would not only change up hitboxes in the game but also severely impact the current meta. Implementing this would also cause a complete uproar with the player base, as they are already too comfortable with the current hitboxes for the past 10 seasons. Another problem I find with this suggestion is the extra load of commands that your device would have to perform in order to register multiple hitboxes at the same time. Keep in mind that the hitboxes are the way they are to ensure that the game runs smoothly with little to no major bugs. If this idea was implemented into the game, a lot of issues would appear, such as overheating devices, faster battery drain, and possibly more lag, since more information would be transferred between devices during gameplay. Number 2. Readjust animations to properly represent hitboxes. Another way for the developers to fix the issue could be by completely revising the current animations to represent the hitboxes by repositioning the animations to fit the timing and size of the hitboxes. Of course, this would again be a pretty large workload and would only be sufficient if the devs had the time to edit them. Now, if the devs are dealing with a lot of time restraint, they could go with suggestion number 3. Number 3. Add in an indicator for the hitbox. My last and final suggestion, also being the best one, would be for the developers to implement some kind of special effect or highlight to represent their hitbox. We can already see this in practice with Bonbon's bombs, Anne's stun radius, and Prospector's magnets. I think something like this would not only ease the workload but also enhance their experience for both hunters and survivors. Survivors would be able to know when to avoid hits while hunters would be able to adjust their accuracy. So that's all I really have for now, in regards to the hitboxes. Despite the current state of the game, I really do hope it improves for the better, because I believe this game has the potential to be a great game. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to wax your dolls.